Guess what? There's a new country inside the USA. This is crazy. Welcome to the newest episode of SDW.
Super Dario World!
It's a me,
Dario.
Woohoo! Let's go!
All right, honestly, I don't know why this is not the headline on every single news program ever, but there's a new country inside the USA, and every single thing about it is fucking hysterical. It's insanity. It's insanity any way you look at it. I've been following this all day. Well, first off, I know that the PS5 details are out, and I will be talking about that tomorrow. I'm going to go through all the trailers, but this is more important. This is the biggest news ever, and honestly, like I said, I can't believe that I haven't seen more about it. So, first off, the country inside the USA is actually a 7-block zone in Seattle. Well, before I get into that, any comments, questions, suggestions, you can find me at Dario the Show on Instagram or at SuperDario_World. And also follow my Facebook page, Super Dario World. I update everything there. All right, so the country I'm talking about is considered, it's a 7-block radius in Seattle, Washington, the city of Seattle. And it's great. Check out the name of this new country is called Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone. All right, they're the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone, aka CHAZ. CHAZ. The country of CHAZ is in America, and this is great. Oh, dude, seriously, like the motto of that city should be play stupid games, win stupid prizes, because holy shit, every single thing I see coming out of CHAZ is just better than the last thing. It's the perfect example of why you should not follow bad ideas. So for those of you who don't know, there have been a lot of riots in the U.S. lately, and there have been a lot of riots in Seattle, particularly. These got so bad that the police basically abandoned their police station. Why? Because the mayor is a coward. And they abandoned the police station, and a bunch of protesters took over that police station, and they took over a whole 7-block radius, and they decided, you know what, this is a police-free zone. We're in control here, right? And they're making a whole bunch of demands, so I guess they could be considered terrorists, but I'll get into that in a minute, because there's a lot to go on around CHAZ, all right? So first off, this is the funniest thing. How do they control a 7-block radius? Well, they put up a wall. They put up a wall. Trump saying 3 years ago, we need to build a wall. They built a fucking wall. So they put up a wall, and they've been controlling who can come in and who can come out. Now, at first, it seemed like it was going to be like a nice little utopia. They had outside cinema. They made like their own little school thingy. Everything seemed cool. But then, obviously, since there's a power vacuum, somebody took it over. So there was this rapper named Ras Simone, and he and his posse decided, you know what? We're the new police here. And they started policing the place. So first off, they have like a checkpoint. If you want to come in, you have to get they'll stop you and they'll frisk you. Which you guys remember stop and frisk, which is a policy that everybody hated because it's racist. Well, they're stopping and frisking people, and they're protecting places that, let's say, give them donations, and they've started shaking down other other businesses because it turns out you need money in order to do what you're doing. So basically, it's like the mob shaking down people. It's the Wild West over there. They're shaking down people. They're taking their money. They're abusing people. So like, there's a video out there on the internet. And it's a dude that's committing graffiti, and some of the Raz Boys, I'm calling them the Raz Boys, I don't know if that's their name, but I'm calling them the Raz Boys, show up, and they start antagonizing the guy and tell him, like, hey, these dudes are friends, you can't do graffiti here. And he's like, fuck you, I can do whatever I want. And so things get rough. Some dude gets his glasses broken, and they rough him up a little. And on tape, this guy is saying, like, well, basically telling him, like, no, we're the police here now. And, like, you better leave or I'm going to fucking kill you. You guys remember 5 minutes ago we were protesting police brutality? And now these dudes saying, we're the police now or leave or we'll fucking kill you. Oh man. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes, man. Oh god, it's great. And that's not even the best part. Their demands are insane. But before that, there's a tweet that came out from somebody who was inside CHAZ, and apparently they've been having some issues with resources because it turns out you need resources to survive. And I'll just read you the tweet, okay? Alert. The homeless people we invited took away all the food at the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone. We need more food to keep the area operational. Please, if possible, bring vegan meat supplements. Fruits, oats, soy products, etc. Anything to help us eat. Oh man, this I love it. I love CHAZ so much, man. I'm so happy. It reminds me of the episode of Family Guy where Peter decides to create his own country, Pretoria. Except this is worse. The homeless people we invited took away our food. First, you see, that's why homeless people can't have nice things. Turns out that, you know what? It's a dog-eat-dog world out there, and if there's nobody to keep crazy people in check, the crazy people will take your food. Survival of the fittest, man. That's what you know what happens when there's not a police force there, to enforce the law? Survival of the fittest. And guess what? That homeless dude was fitter than you, bro. Then, oh my God, the fucking request, like, please, if possible, bring us vegan meat substitutes. Of course he's a fucking vegan. Of course he has to be. And the balls, man. The balls to make that request. And it's the first thing, because the other ones are reasonable. Vegan meat supplements, fruits, oats, soy products, etc. Anything to help us eat. That's understandable. But the vegan, all right, that's the first thing. Like, that's their first request. It's vegan. So, like, the most expensive thing, could you bring it to us, please? We're hungry. We're hungry, but we have a very restrictive diet. Please feed us. Oh, man, I love CHAZ. I feel really bad for the people in Seattle who live in those Imagine if you live in that 7-block radius or you have a business there, and all of a sudden, you're living in The Dark Knight Rises. You're living in 1984, and you're like, man, I just want to keep my business going. What the fuck is wrong with all these people? Why? Who the fuck is CHAZ? But you're kind of in it already, so I feel bad for those people. But this guy, fuck you, dude. Fuck you. Like, what did you expect? Again, you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. And I know what you're thinking. Well, like, man, they were probably really upset, Then they were protesting police violence, and they resorted to violence, so they must have been pretty upset. Well, what are their demands? What do they want to change? What is the thing that's going to make them happy? Well, the demands are totally fucking insane. They are insane. Like, some of the things that they're asking for, well, first off, no more police here. We can police ourselves. No more police. We want you to... also, no more prisons. Also, release all the black inmates. They have to be retried. Just the black ones, by the way, and not anybody else. And they have to be retried and judged by a jury of their peers. So basically, only people that they pick. What else are they asking for? They're asking for basically a buttload of money, and what else? They're basically asking for a whole bunch of reforms that are just complete and total insanity. Like, if you read that, if you're a reasonable person, you read that and you're like, yeah, you know what? How about fucking no? Like, honestly, most people, it's 30 demands, a list of 30 demands. They posted it on Medium. Let me see if I can find the whole thing. Because I just remember I went through it real quickly, and then I went to a different article, because after the fifth thing, I was like, this is fucking stupid. Like, nobody would ever accept this. Nobody. Just starting off with the whole no police thing is insanity. Look what happens when you don't have police, all right? You already have a gang of thugs taking over, shaking you down. It makes no sense. And you want to release, what, a whole bunch of inmates? It doesn't really make any sense. Nothing makes any sense. Nothing makes any sense. But that's CHAZ. You can look it up for yourself. Oh, I wish I could find a list of demands because they were crazy. But anyway, The thing that I want to talk about here, also a whole bunch of other insanity that's happening, and it's news related. Well, it's entertainment related. They've canceled the TV show Cops. They want to, and now they're going after the TV show Paw Patrol. So for those of you who don't know what Paw Patrol is a kids TV show where pretty much a whole bunch of adorable animated dogs dress up as particular jobs. Let's say a Dalmatian dresses up as a firefighter, and a German Shepherd dresses up as a police officer, and they go and they do various jobs. So basically, this particular German Shepherd, I believe his name is Chase, and he stops bad guys, right? That's his job. Chase, he's a cop, he stops bad guys. And they want to cancel the show because apparently the issue, the big sin Chase does is that it puts police officers in a good light. You know, by making him look adorable, it makes us look good, makes us think that police officers are good, and that's a bad thing to do. Which is total fucking insanity, by the way. And this leads to a bigger topic. That is what I want to talk about. You know what happens when cops go away? Murder goes up. You know? Crimes goes up. Like, the deadliest day in Chicago, in 60 years in Chicago, happened on May 31st. Like, it just happened. You know, the days when the cops really weren't doing their jobs? 18 people died on May 31st alone in Chicago. All right? In one city, in one night, 18 murders. And, you know what was crazy? This whole thing started protesting the death of one guy. Now 18 people have been murdered. Wow. Crazy what happens. And the responses and the hate have just been really, really, really disgusting overall. I don't understand how the police officers became back. No, I get it. And I've defended this. I've defended this point before. Assholes exist. Some assholes happen to be police officers. Overall, but you know, although I said it, some police officers are assholes, most of them are pretty nice people, just like any other profession. Some doctors are assholes, most of them are pretty nice people. It happens everywhere. Assholes exist everywhere, okay? The thing is, when you identify one, you go after them. So the people who killed the guy in Minnesota, George Floyd, those dudes are going to jail. Well, or at least they are being convicted, they're being tried. So, to start just painting with a broad brush that all the police officers are bad and all that stuff. No, it's not true. Some of them were, and when we identify them, we make sure they pay. And this is actually pretty bad. It's a really bad thing because a whole bunch of police officers have been resigning across the country. In New York, I believe it's 6 a day. There's and one of the spokesperson for one of the police stations, I think it's the one in New York. He was giving people like stats of. And let's just say the police officers are very upset because the media and the government is painting them as a bad guy. Now, I will not take that from any politician because guess what police officers do? They enforce the laws. They don't make the laws, they just enforce the laws. If you don't like a police officer for enforcing a law, it's because you don't like the fucking law and they didn't write it. It's just their job, all right? They're doing what their bosses tell them to do. If you have an issue with what they're doing, you have an issue. You should be taking issue with the dudes who are writing the laws. And so to me, it's very disgusting to see politicians just throw cops under the bus. They're just dudes doing a job. They just want to go home. They protect their communities, go home, have a beer, hang out with their families. They're just dudes. And I have a particularly, no, I wouldn't say extraordinary, but I have a decent relationship with police officers because the restaurant that I work in, it's right next to a police station. We get a lot of them as customers. As I mentioned before, I recently collaborated with a police detective for writing a story, so I got to interview some of the people that he worked with, plus him. So I'm okay, and I have a reasonably good relationship with police officers. However, this was not always the case. I grew up in a time and a place that it was the most dangerous city in the world, Tijuana, Mexico. The people who grew up there in the same time and place could testify that the cops there fucking sucked. In fact, it was highly suspected. I don't have any evidence for this, but it was highly suspected that the police officers were actually in on the crimes. And these weren't just like, oh, I'm going to take a little bit of your money. I mean, kidnapping and killing people. All right? That's what I grew up with. So I grew up being terrified of police officers because they were actually actively out there committing probably the worst crime out there. Murder, kidnapping and murder. And so I remember the very first time that we needed that actually this became like a thing in my mind. I remember it very vividly. Our house got broken into one night when we got there, and we got home, and it turns out that our house had been broken into. And as we're going through the stuff, I asked my dad. I was very little. I don't remember how old I was, but let's say 10, 12. I don't know. Let's say I was young. And I remember asking my dad, like, are we going to call the cops? And my dad said, no, if we call the cops, they'll just come here, and if they see anything, just lying around, they'll take it too. So that was my introduction to what you do when you need police officers. You don't call them, because apparently they'll make everything worse. And, when you grow up, you start hearing all the stories, and you start learning about the crime and all the stuff. And eventually, I believe that thing got cleaned up mostly. I don't know how the city's been doing. It has its ups and downs, just like every city, but supposedly it got better. At least the cops are not out there kidnapping people, which is good, at least not that I know of. So those are the police officers that I grew up with. In context, over here, they're pretty fucking good. Like, you got the best cops I've ever... Well, I don't know if the best ones in the world, but the best ones I've interacted with, none of them have pointed a shotgun to my face. And, well, I haven't given them a reason to, but in Mexico they did. The one time I've gotten a shotgun pointed to my face was from a cop down over there. So, you guys got it pretty sweet over here. A lot. According to statistics, police have interactions with civilians about... last year they had 370 million. There's 300 million citizens in the U.S. That means that every citizen in the U.S. could have had an extra interaction with a cop and then some. So, and most of them are overwhelmingly positive. Like, out of those 370 million interactions, there were 1,000 deaths last year, right? And out of those 1,000 deaths, 50 of them were unarmed. Well, less than 50. Like 40-something were unarmed, which means that everybody else were either shooting at them or that had a weapon, or so they had like a good reason to shoot them. And out of those 50, a good majority of them were actually assaulting the police officers. And by a good majority, I mean like over half. So let's say, but let's just keep it with the under 50. So 370 million interactions, overwhelmingly good, versus I'll keep it in 1,000. The 1,000 left that ended up in deaths, let's say those were bad ones, versus 1,000. That means that in a grand total, it's still what? 300,000 to 1? That's pretty good. That's a pretty good number. So, like I said, I don't think it's fair on the treatment that they're getting. Like, canceling a fucking TV. You can't even show a puppy that makes the cops look good. It's disgusting. And you know what? This has serious consequences. Because like I said, if you keep attacking the cops, they'll stop doing their jobs, because if they don't feel the support from their leaders, if they just keep getting thrown under the bus, if they keep getting painted as the bad guy, they will fucking quit, or people won't sign up to be cops, or there's going to be serious consequences on the other end. And you know what happens when there's no cops? CHAZ happens. CHAZ fucking happens, all right? And that's bad. I remember a few years ago, I started watching the TV show Southland. Southland is actually a pretty good show. I was pretty sad when they canceled it. I believe they canceled it after 4 seasons, but it was a good show. And watching that, I was like, man, like, these dudes go through a lot of really shitty stuff. Like, it's not fair. And so I asked the police officer that I know, like, hey, you've seen this show? Is it like realistic and stuff? He's like, oh yeah, that's pretty much his life as a cop in LA. I'm like, wow, that's brutal. And so I made a decision. From that very moment, and it's due to one thing that happened in that episode, I made a decision that every single time I get stopped by a police officer or something, I'm going to tell them, thank you for what you do for a community. That's it. Something simple. So the next time I got stopped and got a ticket, and I was like really mad. I told the cops, like, all right, I'm at the end of it, like at the very end, because obviously I was going to argue my point, which is the stupidest thing you can do. But at the very end of it, like, all right, I'm not happy with you right now, but thank you for what you do for our community. That's it. And then he still gave me the ticket anyway, and I moved on with my life. So I decided that was just like a nice thing I can do, because they are, in many ways, they are the pillars of civilization, right? If you don't have them, if you don't have a police force, we don't have civilization the way we know it. it'll become a power vacuum. It will appear, power vacuum will appear, and then it becomes survival of the fittest. And then you get CHAZ. That's what you get. So the pillars of civilization, and right now they're under attack by a whole bunch of cowards whose policies are the reasons that we're actually in the fucking mess. So, I'm not gonna ask you to, like, honestly, do whatever you want. That's just what I do. I'm an individualist. I think that everybody can do their own thing. I'm just sharing the one thing that I do. I feel like it would be smart to show them a lot more support, especially right now when they're being attacked. I know it's not the popular thing to do, and I know that a lot of people will attack you because it means like, oh, you're pro-cup, that means you're anti-this. No, it just means that I believe that most of them overwhelmingly are good people, and we need them. So, I guess I wanted to share the news about CHAZ and ask you to look it up because they're so stupid. They're so stupid, and there's no way that's going to end well, by the way. No fucking way. But also, it's like, I don't know what you can do. But just, if you see a police officer, just tell them thank you for what you're doing for your community. Honestly. Like I said, most of them overwhelmingly are very, very good at they're good people, all right? So this attack, this hate that's coming out, like, I get it. Nobody wants police violence, okay? Nobody wants it, not even cops, all right? They especially don't want it. I'm pretty sure that the first people who will want to get rid of bad cops are cops. I've said that before because it makes them look bad. It makes their jobs harder. So I don't know. Take a little conscience. Think of. I'm trying to think of a way that you can show support, but like I said, I know. I know how I am. I don't want to go too out of my way of doing things, but I did want to make this particular point clear. It's a bad thing what's happening to them. It's a bad thing. It's a bad thing, not just for them, but our community in general. It's bad for our future. It's bad, like I said, it's bad for our civilization. So showing them a little support, at least knowing that we have their backs and we appreciate what they do, can go a really long way. Honestly, this attack has got to stop. And it's coming from people who just have really bad ideas and are just disgusting in the way that they're trying to, destroy our civilization. And so, I don't know. Food for thought, I guess. As always, any comments, questions, or suggestions, you can find me at Dario the Show on Instagram or at SuperDarioPeriodWorld. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you again next time.